translation of Sahih Bukhari, Book 64, Supporting the Family. Volume 7, Book 64, number 263. Narrated Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari, the Prophet said, when a Muslim spends something on his family intending to receive Allah's reward, it is regarded as sadaqah for him. Number 264. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle said, Allah said, O son of Adam, spend, and I shall spend on you. Number 265. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, the one who looks after a widow or a poor person is like a mujahid, warrior who fights for Allah's cause, or like him who performs prayers all the night and fasts all the day. Number 266. Narrated Sa'd, the Prophet visited me at Mecca while I was ill. I said to him, I have property. May I bequeath all my property in Allah's cause? He said, no. I said, half of it? He said, no. I said, 1/3 of it? He said, 1/3 is all right, yet it is still too much, for you'd better leave your inheritors wealthy than leave them poor, begging of others. Whatever you spend will be considered a sadaqah for you, even the mouthful of food you put in the mouth of your wife. Anyhow, Allah may let you recover, so that some people may benefit by you and others be harmed by you. Number 268. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, the best alms is that which is given when one is rich, and a giving hand is better than a taking one, and you should start first to support your dependents. A wife says, you should either provide me with food or divorce me. A slave says, give me food and enjoy my service. A son says, give me food. To whom do you leave me? The people said, O Abu Hurairah, did you hear that from Allah's Apostle? He said, no, it is from my own self. Number 269. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle said, the best alms is that which you give when you are rich, and you should start first to support your dependents. Number 270. Narrated Umar, the Prophet used to sell the dates of the garden of Bani and Nadir and store for his family so much food as would cover their needs for a whole year. Number 271. Narrated Malik bin Aus bin al-Hadithan, once I set out to visit Umar bin al-Khattab. While I was sitting there with him as gatekeeper, Yarfa came and said, Uthman Abdurrahman bin Auf, Zubair and Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas are seeking permission to meet you. Umar said, yes. So he admitted them and they entered, greeted, and sat down. After a short while Yarfa came again and said to Umar, shall I admit Ali and Abbas? Umar said, yes. He admitted them and when they entered, they greeted and sat down. Abbas said, O chief of the believers, judge between me and this Ali. The group, Uthman and his companions said, O chief of the believers, judge between them and relieve one from the other. Umar said, wait. I beseech you by Allah, by whose permission both the heaven and the earth stand fast. Do you know that Allah's Apostle said, we apostles do not bequeath anything to our heirs, but whatever we leave is to be given in charity. And by that Allah's Apostles meant himself? The group said, he did say so. Umar then turned towards all and Abbas and said, I beseech you both by Allah, do you know that Allah's Apostle said that? They said, yes. Umar said, now, let me talk to you about this matter. Allah favored his apostle with something of this property war booty which he did not give to anybody else. And Allah said, and what Allah has bestowed on his apostle is fine booty from them for which you made no expedition with either cavalry or camelry. Allah is able to do all things. Quran 59 verse 6. So this property was especially granted to Allah's apostle. But by Allah he neither withheld it from you, nor did he keep it for himself and deprive you of it, but he gave it all to you and distributed it among you till only this remained out of it. And out of this property Allah's apostle used to provide his family with their yearly needs, and whatever remained, he would spend where Allah's property the revenues of zakat used to be spent. Allah's apostle kept on acting like this throughout his lifetime. Now I beseech you by Allah, do you know that? They said, yes. Then Umar said to Ali and Abbas, I beseech you by Allah, do you both know that? They said, yes. Umar added, When Allah had taken his apostle unto him, Abu Bakr said, I am the successor of Allah's apostle. So he took charge of that property and did with it the same what Allah's apostle used to do, and both of you knew all about it then. Then Umar turned towards Ali and Abbas and said, You both claim that Abu Bakr was so-and-so. But Allah knows that he was honest, sincere, pious and right in that matter. Then Allah caused Abu Bakr to die, and I said, I am the successor of Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr. So I kept this property in my possession for the first 2 years of my rule, and I used to do the same with it as Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr used to do. Later both of you Ali and Abbas came to me with the same claim and the same problem. O Abbas! You came to me demanding your share from the inheritance of the son of your brother, and Ali came to me demanding his wife's share from the inheritance of her father. So I said to you, if you wish I will hand over this property to you, on condition that you both promise me before Allah that you will manage it in the same way as Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr did, and as I have done since the beginning of my rule. Otherwise you should not speak to me about it. So you both said, hand over this property to us on this condition. And on this condition I handed it over to you. I beseech you by Allah, did I hand it over to them on that condition? The group said, yes. Umar then faced Ali and Abbas and said, I beseech you both by Allah, did I hand it over to you both on that condition? They both said, yes. Umar added, do you want me now to give a decision other than that? By him with whose permission order both the heaven and the earth stand fast, I will never give any decision other than that till the hour is established. But if you are unable to manage it that property, then return it to me and I will be sufficient for it on your behalf. Number 272 narrated Aisha, Hind bint Utbah came and said, O Allah's apostle! Abu Sufyan is a miser, so is it sinful of me to feed our children from his property? Allah's apostle said, no, except if you take for your needs what is just and reasonable. Number 273, narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, if the wife gives of her husband's property something in charity without his permission, he will get half the reward. Number 274, narrated Ali, Fatima went to the Prophet complaining about the bad effect of the stone hand mill on her hand. She heard that the Prophet had received a few slave girls. But when she came there she did not find him, so she mentioned her problem to Aisha. When the Prophet came, Aisha informed him about that. Ali added, so the Prophet came to us when we had gone to bed. We wanted to get up on his arrival but he said, stay where you are. Then he came and sat between me and her and I felt the coldness of his feet on my abdomen. He said, shall I direct you to something better than what you have requested? When you go to bed say, Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 34 times, for that is better for you than a servant. Number 275, narrated Ali bin Abi Talib, Fatima came to the Prophet asking for a servant. He said, may I inform you of something better than that? When you go to bed, recite Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 34 times. All added, I have never failed to recite it ever since. Somebody asked, even on the night of the Battle of Siffin? He said, no, even on the night of the Battle of Siffin. Number 276, narrated Al-Aswad bin Yazid, I asked Aisha, what did the Prophet used to do at home? She said, he used to work for his family, and when he heard the adhan call for the prayer, he would go out. Number 277, narrated Aisha, Hind bint Utbah said, O Allah's apostle! Abu Sufyan is a miser and he does not give me what is sufficient for me and my children. Can I take of his property without his knowledge? The Prophet said, take what is sufficient for you and your children, and the amount should be just and reasonable. Number 278, narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's apostle said, the best women among the camel riders are the women of Quraysh. Another narrator said the Prophet said, the righteous among the women of Quraysh are those who are kind to their young ones and who look after their husband's property. Number 279, narrated Ali, the Prophet gave me a silk suit and I wore it, but when I noticed anger on his face, I cut it and distributed it among my women folk. Number 280, narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, my father died and left 7 or 9 girls and I married a matron. Allah's apostle said to me, O Jabir, have you married? I said, yes. He said, a virgin or a matron? I replied, a matron. He said, why not a virgin, so that you might play with her and she with you, and you might amuse her and she amuse you? I said, Abdullah, my father died and left girls, and I dislike to marry a girl like them, so I married a lady matron so that she may look after them. On that he said, may Allah bless you, or that is good. Number 281, narrated Abu Hurairah, a man came to the Prophet and said, I am ruined. The Prophet said, why? He said, I had sexual intercourse with my wife while fasting in the month of Ramadan. The Prophet said to him, when you met a slave as expiation? He replied, I cannot afford that. The Prophet said, then fast for 2 successive months. He said, I cannot. The Prophet said, then feed 60 poor persons. He said, I have nothing to do that. In the meantime a basket full of dates was brought to the Prophet. He said, where is the questioner? The man said, I am here. The Prophet said to him, give this basket of dates in charity as expiation. He said, O Allah's apostle, shall I give it to poorer people than us? By him who sent you with the truth, there is no family between Medina's 2 mountains poorer than us. The Prophet smiled till his premolar teeth became visible. He then said, then take it. Number 282, narrated Salama, I said, O Allah's apostle, shall I get a reward in the hereafter if I spend on the children of Abu Salama and do not leave them like this and like this that is poor but treat them like my children? The Prophet said, yes, you will be rewarded for that which you will spend on them. Number 283, narrated Aisha Hina bint Utbah said, O Allah's apostle, Abu Sufyan is a miser. Is there any harm if I take of his property what will cover me and my children's needs? The Prophet said, take according to your needs in a reasonable manner. Number 284, narrated Abu Hurairah, a dead man in debt used to be brought to Allah's apostle who would ask, has he left anything to repay his debts? If he was informed that he had left something to cover his debts, the Prophet would offer the funeral prayer for him. Otherwise he would say to the Muslims present there, offer the funeral prayer for your friend. But when Allah helped the Prophet to gain victory on his expeditions, he said, I am closer to the believers than themselves, so if one of the believers dies in debt, I will repay it, but if he leaves wealth, it will be for his heirs. Number 285, narrated Habiba, the wife of the Prophet, I said, O Allah's apostle, will you marry my sister, the daughter of Abu Sufyan? The Prophet said, do you like that? I said, yes, for I am not your only wife, and the person I like most to share the good with me, is my sister. He said, that is not lawful for me. I said, O Allah's apostle, we have heard that you want to marry Dura, the daughter of Abu Salama. He said, you mean the daughter of Salama? I said, yes. He said, even if she were not my stepdaughter, she is unlawful for me, for she is my foster niece. Thuba suckled me and Abu Salama. So you should not present to me your daughters and sisters. Narrated Ursa. Thuba had been a slave girl whom Abu Lahab had emancipated.